Talk-no-Jutsu is kind of a meme at this point. The idea that Naruto can more easily identify with the villains and get them to see the error of their ways is one of the greatest abilities he has, even more so than his Rasengan. But the more I think about all those whose minds he's changed, I begin to wonder about the villains of other series. And so I'd like to do an experiment with you, and go over which villains from other franchises that Naruto might be able to save, and maybe even a few that he can't. So buckle up and get ready, we're about to dive right in. But first, welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed. So if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Can save Ultron from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It seems like an odd idea that Naruto can change the mind of a clanker hell-bent on destroying the human race, but it's important to realize that Ultron is more than just an artificial intelligence. He was born from the Mind Stone, the same stone that gave Vision life, using Jarvis as a template. To say that Ultron is an AI might actually be false, as even he claims that he doesn't feel right. He feels wrong, like an affront to nature, which is why it seems he keeps building himself newer and newer bodies, each one drawing closer to his idea of perfection, that perfection being an organic body. To understand why Naruto can save Ultron, we first have to look at why Ultron is the way that he is. If we assume that, like Jarvis, Ultron has some sort of AI base that helped serve as foundation for the new consciousness to graft itself to, then we should also assume that Ultron derived much of his desires from that programming. Ultron, like many villains, believed that he was saving the world by destroying the human race. This is something most of his incarnations resemble, but this Ultron is unique due to how expressive and emotional he is. Less cold and calculating, and almost in some way giving himself a messiah complex, believing that he is the hand of God to deliver judgment to the world and offer it one last chance before the end. Despite the fact that Ultron is dead set on killing the human race, it almost seems as though he's not entirely upset at us, just disappointed. When he encounters the Avengers at the start of the movie, he commends them on trying to attain peace, but says they're simply doing it the wrong way. He says they wish to save the world, but don't want it to change, which will just perpetuate the cycle, and the only way to end the cycle is to end the perpetuators, and that's the human race. But toward the end of the movie, Vision actually finds the last body Ultron exists within and manages to have a short heart-to-heart about humanity and the beauty in things that are temporary, and for a moment Ultron seems to contemplate what he's saying. He tells Vision that he's naive, and Vision tells him that he was literally born yesterday. Ultron attacks and Vision kills him, but I wonder if Naruto had tried to explain it to him, maybe Ultron would have understood. After all, Naruto is one who understands the cycle of hatred and war, and seeks to stop it in a new way. In a way, the interaction might not be too far removed from Naruto's interaction with pain. Though a lot more extreme, Ultron's views on war and his distaste for it mirror Pain's. So in my opinion, I think Ultron could be changed, and if he were, maybe he'd be able to put his energies to more constructive matters, or at the very least, not kill everyone. Cannot save Thanos from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Wow, Naruto can save Ultron, but not Thanos? You heard me right. Ultron seemed to at least be open to a new world view. He was cooperative with others and even worked with humans to help achieve his plans. Thanos is not this way, however. The reason why Thanos could not be saved by Naruto is that Naruto first needs to be able to convince his enemy that what they're doing is wrong. Ultron seemed to be open to that at the end of the movie, which is why I believe he could be saved. Thanos, on the other hand, cannot be saved that way because Thanos believes he's in the right. And he's so steadfast in that belief that even in the face of the world telling him what he is, even in the face of facts telling him that his plan was a failure, he still fights to make it so, going so far as to plan to erase the entire universe just to spite the Avengers. And what's worse, if Thanos does feel that he's in the wrong or is a monster, he turns it into a martyrdom of himself, believing that he's totally justified and that any crisis of conscience or any hatred he faces from outside sources is just more proof that he's right. Thanos is just so stubborn that the idea that there's any way better than this will simply pass right through his ears. He doesn't want to hear what Naruto has to say, because he already has it in his own head that Naruto is wrong. So there's no point in even trying. Can save Darth Vader Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one of the Star Wars universe, is basically to the Jedi what Naruto is to the shinobi. The main difference here is that Anakin took a Sasuke path in life, which led to him becoming Darth Vader. His transformation started on the desert sands of Tatooine when the Sand People killed his mother, and in return, Anakin killed everyone in the Sand People's camp, including women and children. And while that's a horrible action, it's also true that Anakin immediately regretted it. He covered his pain with rage and hatred, but looking into the tears in his eyes and the way he collapsed from it later tells us that Anakin has a tendency to turn to the dark side when he's feeling vulnerable. It's less a draw for power, though that is still there, and more of a defense mechanism when he feels helpless. For instance, when he had a vision of Padme dying, he approached Yoda for help, only to be told "Que sera sera," and to just let whoever he cares about die because the dark side is too scary to care about anyone too much. With no other choice, he ended up looking for a safe way to tap into the dark side without giving in, a way Palpatine offered. Anakin trusted Palpatine, but upon realizing he was a Sith Lord, he reported it to Master Windu, who told Anakin to stay in the council chambers, sensing the conflict in Anakin's heart. But temptation is a powerful thing, and the fear that losing Palpatine meant losing Padme led to Anakin disobeying his superior and betraying him to save Palpatine's life. Having made a mistake he felt he had no way out of, Anakin chose to do the only thing he had control over and commit to it. This led to the purging of the Jedi and the slaughter of the Separatists, and though Anakin was now Vader truly, Anakin yet lived inside of him. This much is true as we can see that he's crying on Mustafar as he thinks about all he's done. None of this can excuse Anakin's actions. I cannot and will not defend them, but one thing I will say is that so long as someone's conscience isn't dead, so long as they feel a pull away from the darkness, the light is there. And Anakin obviously felt it. Even after being turned into the cybernetic monster we all know and love because he's badass, Vader was still open to change. He attempted to bury it, but deep down, he had good in him, as even Padme told Obi-Wan. All it took was Luke not giving up to pull his father back from the edge, and I feel like if Luke could bring Vader back, maybe Naruto could too. And honestly, this goes for a lot of villains in Star Wars. Even Darth Maul and Count Dooku, as Maul was corrupted from childhood but displayed some light in him. And as for Dooku, much like Thanos, he believed what he was doing was right. It wasn't exactly greed that pulled Dooku away, but disillusionment with the Jedi Order and the Republic as a whole. And though I'm sure his confidence in his own actions would get in the way, I do feel Naruto could save Dooku too. Cannot save Emperor Palpatine. Need I say it? This guy is designed to be the embodiment of evil in the Star Wars universe. He has no remorse or conscience, and everything he does is solely selfish and destructive. There is no light at all in him, which is likely why he's such a powerful dark side user. And worse still, he was never even corrupted. He was just evil since birth. Let me tell you a story that originates in the novel Darth Plagueis. Now, it's been a while since I read that book, so bear with me if I botch it a little, but basically it goes like this. Sheev Palpatine was the son of a Naboo politician, a member of the powerful Palpatine household. He always hated his family, including his father, especially his father. As a young man, he threw morality out the window, knowing that money could solve any problem. He loved to race in speeders and, if I remember correctly, in spite mowed down 2 civilians just to test the limits of his father's funds and to see if money could make even vehicular manslaughter go away. Well, it did. It wasn't long after that Palpatine came into contact with a Mun banker named Hego Damask. Damask was invested in politics, but was more interested in Sheev, whose political stances completely stood antithetical to his father's beliefs. In an effort to keep Damask away from his son, he planned to take him away to Kamal Minor to hide until after the election season was over, fearing that Damask would use Palpatine to alter the results of the races. Well, Palpatine didn't like this one bit, and in a fit of anger called upon the dark side of the Force and killed his own father. Realizing what he had done, Palpatine knew there could be no witnesses and then went about killing the rest of his family, as well as the security detail before contacting Damask and seeing what he could do. Damask personally took care of this before revealing himself to be the Sith Lord Darth Plagueis and taking Palpatine under his wing as Darth Sidious. And from this little story, we can tell that there never was anything good in Palpatine. He was raised well, but chose to take the path of the spoiled brat and used his family's power and influence for his own gain, killing without regard to anyone else, as the only life that mattered to him was his own. There is nothing inside of Palpatine for Naruto to latch onto. If anything, Palpatine's past and present are completely the opposite of Naruto's life experiences, and thus I highly doubt that there's anyone at all who can change Palpatine's mind, because Palpatine is just too much of a reprobate to care. Can save. Ganondorf. Impossible. How can anyone save the very king of evil? Well, normally they can't. In most iterations, Ganondorf is just too evil to be saved. There are a few occasions, though, when he can set aside himself to help others. One such time can be seen in the game Super Smash Bros. Brawl, where he, despite his anger and hatred towards them, decides to work with Zelda and Link to defeat the evil and mysterious entity known as Taboo. But this is non-canon, right? It doesn't count. Well, here's where things get strange. Canonically, within the Zelda franchise, Naruto can save Ganondorf, but only in a select timeline. You see, during the events of Ocarina of Time, perhaps the most lore-relevant Zelda title of all, we see a split in the timeline. 3 timelines are created: the Child Timeline, the Future Timeline, and the Fallen Timeline. Long story short, each timeline sees events transpire differently. In the Child Timeline, Link goes back in time to sabotage Ganondorf before he can overthrow Hyrule. In the Adult Timeline, Link defeats Ganondorf after he overthrew Hyrule, and in the Fallen Hero Timeline, Link is killed in a battle against Ganondorf, and the King of Evil is only defeated by the combined effort of the 6 sages who seal him away. We are going to focus on the Adult Timeline though, as that's the one where the Ganondorf I speak of exists. In the Adult Timeline, after defeating Ganondorf, Link goes back in time. Due to this, no hero's spirit exists in the Adult Timeline, which means that when Ganondorf eventually breaks out of his seal, there is no Link to oppose him. In response, the gods of Hyrule, Din, Furore, and Nehru, send a massive flood to cover the land of Hyrule and bury the Demon King in the water. But even that can't hold him, as he begins to rise from the depths to seek out girls that fit the description of Princess Zelda so he may collect her piece of the Triforce. Wow, being sealed, cursed by gods, and kidnapping little girls. Sounds really redeemable, right?
What? What the f-
Well, when we get to the end of the story, we get to see more about Ganondorf, as when he's standing there getting ready to make his wish, he speaks and explains himself. At least in this timeline, he says that when he waged war for the Triforce, he did so with good intent. He said Hyrule's wind brought life and abundance, and that for that reason, he coveted their wind and sought to take their land for himself. Now, none of this erases the fact that he literally put curses on sites that the people of Hyrule considered holy, killed the Deku Tree, who was the father of countless orphan children, and literally created an army of the dead to attack anyone. Even his own Gerudo people hated him, as Nabooru claimed. So how do we know this guy isn't just lying? Well, we don't know that he's not lying. He could just be spouting nonsense. But at the same time, who there would care? He's literally standing there in front of 2 children he's planning to kill and has the power to kill. Why would he lie to them? What's the motivation? So for a moment, let's just assume that Ganondorf mellowed out in his old age. In his younger age, he was haughty, rough, and probably very, very angry. But in his older age, having spent hundreds or even thousands of years contemplating his life, maybe he created a new scenario for his past to make sense of it. Or maybe only now is he mellow enough to admit that he was fighting for others besides themselves, like the tyrant who says, "I know what's good for you and you'll take it whether you want it or not." While in no way am I saying this Ganondorf is good, remember, he kidnaps little girls, I do say that this Ganondorf is the most unique, and he's the only one who's shown any level of introspection and questioning his own motives. Maybe the greatest lie he's ever told is to himself, and maybe he falls under the Thanos category, but in some way I feel that if the light he displayed there on the roof of Hyrule Castle is in any way legit, Naruto might be able to latch onto it and bring Ganondorf around. After all, looking at it from Ganondorf's perspective, as the only male in his clan during that time, he was forced into kingship at a very young age. He likely had to be witness to death very early on, and due to the fact that his people are naturally thieves and the fact that Ganondorf is literally the reincarnation of Zelda Satan, I think this little glimmer of hope is more than anyone expected from him, and hints that maybe, beyond all of the darkness and evil he's surrounded himself with, there might be a relatable person inside who simply wants the privilege of living in the light like everyone else. Can save. Majora, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Normally, I'd do a set of people who Naruto can and can't save, but given that we're still on the topic of Zelda and the idea that I'd like to finish this video on a high note, I felt like choosing this character. Now, you may be asking, how in the world will Naruto be able to save a demonic mask? Well, the answer is simple, very easily. I'm a staunch believer that the only reason Majora had to be killed at all was because Link is a silent protagonist. Allow me to explain why. For so long, people have questioned what the nature of Majora's Mask is. Some people say it's a euphemism of death and the cycle of grief, and perhaps so. But it's also true that Termina is considered a real place in the Zelda franchise that was actually created by Majora. So watch out, all you Dragon Ball power scalers, Majora's Mask actually has an official universal feat. But anyway, the reason this is interesting is because of what Majora is. There's no canon explanation for Majora. The manga indicates that Majora was a dragon that existed before time came about, but that's non-canon. Canonically, Majora has no known origin, simply being created by likely the same ancient clan who created the fused shadow in an attempt to put hexes and curses on their enemies, all of which gathered together into an evil so potent it became what it is now. In some way, I've always reckoned Majora's Mask to actually be something akin to a tulpa. Basically, according to Tibetan Buddhist mythology, it's possible to use meditation and visualization to create a sort of thought form that essentially is a spirit created by you just wanting it to exist. At least that's my idea of it. Considering that the fierce deity mask, Majora's Mask's antithesis, is created by taking masks filled with good energy and putting them all together to create something new, I assume the same is true of Majora's Mask. Now, a lot of this is theoretical, and considering that we have no real canon information on the origins of Majora, the best we can do is theorize. But the point of what I'm trying to say is Majora is a unique creature that doesn't appear to really be its own fully formed person. Yet. You see, the longer we play Majora's Mask, the more we begin to realize that the mask is slowly learning, evolving on its own. It started out with Skull Kid, who used the mask for pranks, so it sort of developed a mischievous personality. Not exactly evil, just mischievous. The mask was used for evil and has great evil powers, but the thing to realize about Majora is that, despite looking evil and having evil powers, it doesn't see itself as evil. Not in the same way as Thanos, mind you. Its lack of understanding of its true nature comes from an odd place of innocence. It's childish. It doesn't think of itself as evil simply because it doesn't really know what evil is. It thinks it's just playing a game. During the final battle with it, the mask literally says that they're going to be playing good guys and bad guys, and it says that Link has to lose because he's playing the bad guy. But despite Majora having very little displayed personality until we reach the moon, we can infer that everything that happens on the moon is in some way Majora's own mentality. We see it by a tree, sitting alone while 4 other masked children play. And if you've collected all of the masks in the game and you exchange them here to these lunar children, they will play hide and seek with you. And if you find them, they will ask you questions, many of which have to do with moral concepts and the concept of friendship. If these children are just Majora's puppets, and Majora is the one we're actually talking to as the final battle seems to infer, then we can sort of assume that at this time, Majora is bearing its heart in its own twisted way. The child sitting alone at the tree wearing Majora's mask is Majora itself, and the other children running around are those that are standing in for people who aren't its friend. To defeat them, you have to play with them, befriend them, and by the end of it, Majora itself gives you the fierce deity's mask for playing with the other kids. It literally gives you the most OP item that you will inevitably use to kill it, and worst of all, it seems oblivious to your true intentions. All of this paints a picture of a creature not too unlike Majin Buu, that has the capacity to love, but simply doesn't know how. It doesn't understand the moral line between good and evil and simply lives to attain self-pleasure, while still being aware of an emptiness it can't fill no matter what. Majora's Mask, in essence, is exactly what Skull Kid is, which is why they went so well together. Majora's Mask is just a little kid that's lonely, doesn't have friends, doesn't know how to make them. It plays pranks and acts out for attention, hoping that in some way someone will spend time with it, and after being locked away for thousands of years until being uncovered by a dubious mask salesman, has likely left Majora craving some form of interaction. And we reward that cry for help with death. I know it was the villain, and I know it was literally about to drop the freaking moon on a world and kill everyone on it. Link had no choice, but still, it's sad to think that there was a creature that, despite the evil it was made of, was so innocent. considering that Naruto was a troublemaker and a prankster, a lonely child that sought attention, and contained a great evil inside of himself that he couldn't control. I think Majora and Naruto would understand each other perfectly, and I feel like if they met, Naruto might have been able to explain to Majora why what it's doing is wrong, and maybe make it into a hero by helping it learn the things it does not know. Majora's Mask is the epitome of the child timeline, explaining in great detail the psychology of a child, in that sometimes things don't make sense and sometimes they do bad things. But a child is a child, and they're just learning. Sometimes all it takes is a little discipline and a lot of love to turn a rowdy child around. And I feel like Link missed that chance with Majora, but I know that Naruto wouldn't, and so I feel like he could save it, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little list of characters Naruto could and couldn't save. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while and never got around to. I hope you enjoyed it though. If you did, maybe I'll do more of these in the future. If you'd like to see that, tell us in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when more videos like this drop. And check out these other great videos from our channel. I think they're a blast, and I'm sure you'll think so too. Anyway, until next time, peace.